Hello, guys. Welcome to Bear Bull, where you will learn everything about accounting, finance, and business subjects. So, in this video, we'll be talking about a very important concept in finance, and that is principal agent problem. Now, first of all, keep in mind what is the difference between principal and agent. Now, principal is somebody who needs to get something done. Let's take the example of a person who has $100,000 with him and he wants to make an investment. He wants to invest that money in those securities, shares, and bonds, which will give him the highest amount of return and the lowest amount of risk. So that person with the money is a principal, and he wants something to be done. But of course, he does not have the expertise to invest in the market because he does not understand the markets, which stocks are riskier, which stocks will give more return. So what he will do is that he will go to a broker. A broker is an experienced person in picking up various securities which will generate the most return. So he will give that $100,000 to a broker and will say to him that, okay, it's your job to invest on my behalf, and of course I will give you commission on the basis of the return you generate for me and the transactions you do for me. Now, that broker is an agent of the principal. He is an agent of the guy who has $100,000 with him. Now, let's read this. The principal agent problem is a conflict in priorities between a person or group. Remember, the principal could be single person, as in our case, or it could be a group. For example, the shareholders in a company, they are a bunch of people. So they are the principal and the representative authorized to act on their behalf. Now, the principal agent conflict, an agent may act in a way that is contrary to the best interests of the principal. Now, in our example, let's suppose that broker has the funds. No, they are not his funds, okay? Now, if the owner were himself investing, he would be very cautious that he does not lose money. But what about broker? These are not his it's not his investment. What he will do is that he will invest in riskier investments because those will potentially yield greater return, and of course with greater return he will earn more commissions. But let's suppose that he has invested in junk bonds, of course, which give huge amount of return, but somehow those bonds they fail, they collapse. What will happen is that the broker knows that it's not his money, the money is the principal's. So principal will lose money and not him. As long as the securities and his investments are performing good, he will keep on getting commissions. But the principal, he has to also keep in mind that he does not lose his money. So there is a conflict between the interests of the principal and the agent. Principal wants that he earns returns, but he does not lose his money. Whereas the agent, the broker, he has no incentive in investing in a very prudent way. He, as long as commissions are coming and he is investing recklessly, and it does not matter whether the investment fails or not. Another example is the example of shareholders and the management in a company. Now, shareholders are a bunch of people and they have invested their money in the company, but they do not have the expertise to manage the day-to-day affairs of the company. So what they do is that they hire managers. Now, managers, of course, are acting hands-on in the business. They are managing the business. But once again, there's a conflict of interest. Shareholders want that their wealth is maximized in the long run. But managers, what will they do? They do is that they will focus on short-term returns, okay, short-term high-volume transactions, so that their bonuses increase manifold. So they will tend to focus on short-term gains. How to resolve this principal agent problem? Well, there are two ways to it. One is that you monitor the agents. In case of companies, for example, what shareholders do is that they appoint the directors who oversee the management to make sure that management is acting in the best interest of the shareholders. Another way to monitor in the case of companies is by getting the audit done of the accounts. Now, auditing firms who are independent of the company, they audit the accounts of the companies and they report if there is any adverse thing going on in the company to the shareholders. Another way to control or negate this principal agent problem is by aligning the interests of the principal and the agent. Now, the corporations, how do they address this? Well, they give the management majority of the compensation in the form of share options. And what this do is that if the company performs good in the long run, the share prices increase and the management has an option to exercise those options. And of course, they will also benefit if in the long run the wealth is maximized for the company. So there are two ways to mitigate the principal agent problem. One is to monitor the agents, and the second is to align the interests of the principals and the agent. I hope this video make your concepts clear as to what is the principal agent problem, how this conflict arises, and how we can mitigate it. If you like the video, do subscribe the channel for more videos. Thank you.